Okay, welcome to another episode of Schiller Shop. So I think we're going to call this episode the Jelly of the Month Club. So, just like in Christmas Vacation, when Clark gets a Jelly of the Month Club, it's the gift that just keeps on giving. So, got the car started, and decided if I'm going to work underneath the car, I want to build my own stands. I didn't feel safe with the jack stands only, so went out. I don't know, I spent maybe $50, $60 on wood and screws and spent the day and just built 4 of these. So this car's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, it's definitely not going to fall off of these. So I don't know if you remember in the last episode, we had the fender, and it had all that Bondo and everything, so decided just to take the fender off, because I'm probably going to replace it, but not sure. I'm probably going to replace it. But when I did, the first gift I got was that. So I guess it's a good thing I did take the... It's a good thing I did take it off. So that'll have to be repaired. And I'm assuming that the battery filled up with water at some point in time and just rusted through this right here. So that was a nice little present. But that's okay. You know, we're here to have fun and enjoy this and learn how to work on this car, and bodywork's going to be part of it. So, got the car started, got the fuel pump and the fuel filter and everything, and getting ready to put that in and really kind of get it started. We got it started with just some starter fluid thrown in, but said, you know what, I want to get it running. And as I was down there inspecting it, you might notice that my rear suspension is out. Well, the reason for I let him up under the car and see the rear suspension is out. The reason being is, you know, before we're putting the fuel pump in, I'm just double checking and making sure everything's okay. And then I find that. So somewhere in my steel lines, I have a leak on the return line. So I have to replace that section, but what I have decided to do, just to be safe, is I am actually going to replace the entire set of steel lines as well. So I'm going to buy it, bend it myself. So in order to get these out, they kind of come up and they go over and go up there. With that rear suspension in place, I couldn't figure out how to get the fuel lines out without taking the suspension off, because the way that they're bent and the suspension being in the way. So I said, okay, I looked and found a video on how to take the suspension out, and hey, you know, it wasn't that hard. It was really these 2 bolts, that bolt right there, and the bolts back here, and then the ones for the shocks. So I figure I might as well replace the shocks since I'm here as well. And I got them out. So I said, okay. So we dropped the exhaust, and this was the first gift with this. If you'll notice, the bolts are still in there because they were rusted on and couldn't get them out. So I ended up having to cut through them with the hacksaw. Then on the suspension, there's the bushing for that side. And here's the bushing for this side. You notice a difference? That's right. That bolt is still in there because the bolt seized to the the metal tube inside. So what I had to do was I got my Sawzall up in there, and I had to cut through that bolt. So now I got to replace the bushings on that suspension, which is fine, not the worst thing in the world, but it's just the gift that keeps on giving. So hence, Jelly of the Month Club episode. So that's where we are right now. Next step is just to work to get the fuel lines out, and I'll get new ones ordered, and I'll start bending them. All right. Well, success. It really did not take that long. Luckily, I had my son helping me because it made it a lot easier to get the fuel lines out. So there they are in all their glory. And right there, somewhere in there. That's the problem. Was somewhere in there. So I'm gonna leave these outside and let that air out a little. There was some leftover gas in the supply line, so that ended up all over the garage floor. So the garage is now open and airing out. So, but that's this episode. Next episode, we're gonna order this stuff and start bending our own lines.